Hi everyone, hope you're doing really well. So today I wanted to talk about food and health in general, and just to speak a little bit about my own journey through the decades when it comes to food and lifestyle and health. The first few decades of my life were just a case of eating pretty much whatever I wanted and not really thinking about it, and then not really understanding the level of programming that goes into what our food choices are and how often we eat, and that comes from our family and then through our culture, and the lifestyles that are impressed upon us, and that's kind of okay for a while, but obviously as you get older things change and your body will tolerate less and less the insults that it receives by the what we put in our body, what we expose our body to, and a big percentage of that, or the impact, is obviously through food, but there's other factors as well, in terms of environment and stress and emotional problems, which most of us have, from childhood. There's a lot of contributory factors that impact our health, and so you start to understand that, as I think it Socrates said, I can't remember the name, that all disease is born in the gut. So as our gut health reduces over time, and our the different systems in our body start to operate less well and efficiently, disease starts to creep in. And we live in the Western world, certainly, within systems that tell us, well, you've got problem X, this specific issue, let's say this chronic issue in the body, because obviously problems become chronic as we get older, right? They're no longer acute. And so, okay, well, you've got this specific issue in the body, so we're going to prescribe you this pill, or we're going to give you this treatment that's going to deal with this specific area and this specific thing in the body. The problem is that works okay for acute conditions, but once you start getting into chronic, which is a combination of many different factors that impacts our body's ability to do its job, in whatever area, you no longer are able to look at it as a chronic thing. It's like, well, if I've got this, deficiency or this issue in one area of the body, then I'll just take an antibiotic, or if I've got like an infection, I'll just take an antibiotic and that will solve the problem. But if you've got chronic problems, which most of us have, then that's not going to work most of the time, especially as you get older. And this is what people are now discovering, as we work to try and take back control of our health. This is what we start discovering. So disease is born in the gut, mostly through diet, but not just that. There are other factors. And then you start coming across this information about metabolic syndrome or metabolic disease. And that is directly linked, and really they're linked very closely together, where you have insulin resistance. And most of us in the Western world, unless you're super healthy and super fit and really look after yourself to a really high level, you're going to have insulin resistance. And that's not going to show up in an HbA1c test. You have to have a full insulin stress panel done, and you're not going to get that on the NHS. And that will tell you, what your insulin resistance level is, at different times of the day, and then from there you can work out, okay, if I have got like a medium to high level of insulin resistance, then I've got metabolic syndrome, metabolic disease, and that is basically the precursor for all manner of other chronic problems, including cancer. So once you understand that, it really starts to help you to even if you're in pain and you're in discomfort and you're suffering, it helps you to start understanding, at least in the mind, what's going on. There's a great guy who's very well respected and does loads of research and has got loads of letters after his name, and is a real hero for truth when it comes to metabolic disease and cancer and how to treat it. His name's Thomas Seyfried. Thomas Seyfried, yeah, you can find him on YouTube, and he's just superb. You know, everything he cites is like backed up by reams and reams of scientific papers that the majority of the science and medical community like to ignore because it doesn't make them any money. But the truth is out there, and he cites it all the time. So I highly recommend you go and watch his stuff. But yeah, getting back to metabolic disease, which is basically where you have high insulin resistance, your mitochondria become, they have less and less oxygen to work with, so you end up with this situation where you have more and more mitochondrial damage, which then will cause damage to your genes, and it will cause certain genes to switch off and on, which then allows all manner of different diseases, chronic diseases, to manifest. So, I'm sure many of you will hear people, including medical professionals, saying, especially with things like cancer, that it's genetic. It's the reason for your disease or your issue is genetic. That's not true. Most of the time, it's the reason for your disease is epigenetics, and epigenetics means changes to your genes, switched off or on, changes to your mitochondria, changes to the environment that the cells operate in, where the oxygen level is reduced, so basically your cells can't breathe. And the worse that gets, the more towards cancer you're going, because the cell has two pathways to survive. The first is in an oxygen-rich, healthy environment, so it will operate in the most efficient way, using oxygen. And the other way is, and that's aerobic. Okay, that's an aerobic chemical reaction and exchange. So when that's no longer possible because the cell is oxygen starved, you start moving into anaerobic, and that's how cancer cells operate. They don't need oxygen, but unfortunately, it's a lot less efficient process, but it is a way of keeping the cell alive. So when you look at it that way and you look at cancer, really what's happening in the beginning certainly is the cell is just trying to survive, and it uses that ancient pathway of fermentation in order to survive. So it's, cancer isn't really a disease in my book, and in Thomas Seyfried's book, it's a survival mechanism. So if you want to reverse that and start to reverse these other chronic issues in the body, then you need to look at, well, what is the most effective way back? And Thomas Seyfried will say it's metabolic therapy, which means that you remove the fuel sources for these conditions, and particularly for cancer. And the fuel sources are for cancer, and this is well documented, many choose to ignore it, but it's the truth. The fuel sources are glucose and glutamine. Now, you can get rid of glucose pretty quickly. Glutamine is different because that's that's produced by the body. But this is why people go on keto and carnivore diets, because you're removing the fuel source for cancer. So I will do more videos to talk more about this, and perhaps get into the glutamine side of things a bit more, and how you can help reduce that. But really, the purpose of this video today is just to talk a bit about my own journey, and where I've started having like various different chronic conditions in the body, and I want to reverse them. I want to become healthy. I've had my decades long period of bad health and not really caring, and then when you start turning that corner and you really want to start loving your body, and obviously loving yourself, and having a healthy mind and a healthy body, all of this stuff starts coming into your awareness. So if you're on that journey at the moment, or you're just starting on it, then yeah, I'll certainly be posting more about this stuff. And I think the more information you get that's of a really high quality, the better you're going to be informed and armed to take the right steps in life. So I'll probably leave it there for today, but I just wanted to kind of open that conversation around health, and I need to do another one on the amount of healthy food that is available to us, and the the minefield that we have to go through to actually find food that's really beneficial to our bodies. It's a tricky one. So that's it for today with this video. But feel free to reach out, comment, if you want to collaborate or you need help, let me know. But I'll see you on the next video.